In this video, we're going to learn all about functions. So let's go to the source folder, open up main.lua, and just get rid of all this. A function is a reusable piece of code. Sometimes you'll have some special code that you want to write, and you don't want to write the same thing over and over again. So what you can do is you can put this in a function. We'll call it say hello. And then instead of typing out all of your code, which most of the time it'll probably be something more complicated than this, but you get the idea, you can just call the function anywhere you want. Hello, hello, hello. So functions can also have arguments. So let's see. Say hello. Let's say times. How many times you're going to say it? So for n equals 1 times do print hello. So now I'm going to say hello, and I'm going to provide 3 as the argument. So 3 is the value for this times variable. And so it's going to say for n equals 1 to 3, do this. Let's see if it works. Hello, hello, hello. Let's do it 10 times. You get the idea. We can have multiple arguments. If we just add a comma here, and I'll call this suffix, which means the end, something that goes at the end of the word of a word. And so I'll go suffix, and I'll just convert this to a string in case the user doesn't provide a string, even though I'm the only user for this. So this is going to do the same thing before, except now it's going to combine the hello string with whatever is provided for this second argument. So I'm just going to provide an exclamation mark. Let's see what that does. And I'll only call it 3 times. Hello, and then it added the exclamation mark at the end. And it did that 3 times. So it used both our arguments, the times argument, which was 3, and the suffix argument, which was a string containing an exclamation mark. I can say user, hello user, hello user, hello user. So you're getting the idea, hopefully, of how a function could save you time. You probably wouldn't be using it to print silly sayings, but you can use it for a lot of other things. Now functions can also return a value. So let's say function add 1. And it's going to have 1 argument for n. And then it's going to return n plus 1. So let's say that I don't like math. I don't like typing the plus sign for some reason. I just want a function that adds 1. Let's say a equals 5, b equals add 1 to a, print b. So here I'm declaring a variable a, and I'm setting it to be equal to 5, and then I'm going to call this add 1 function, providing a as the argument. That will be, since it's the first argument, then that will be what n is equal to inside this code here. So this will be 5, and then it will say 5 plus 1, so it will return 6 from the function, and then b will be equal to what the function returns. So if this works, then when I say print b, this should print out the number 6. And it worked. Okay. Now, here's something really funny. Even people who are Lua programmers, some of them don't know this. Something special Lua can do that I don't know any other language that can do this. This is really cool. Lua can actually return two values from a function. This is really cool. Okay. So we're going to call this add 1 and subtract 1. And I'm just going to put a comma here. And I'm going to say in minus 1. So it's going to return in plus 1. And it's also going to return in minus 1. This is not something you can do with most programming languages. And I'm going to say A, comma, C equals whatever the return values for this crazy function are. And then I'm going to print out B, and I'm going to print out C. And let's see what that does. So the input value is 5. It's going to add 1, and it's going to subtract 1. And it's going to return both of those values into the variables B and C. So 5 plus 1 is 6, and 5 minus 1 is 4. So I would expect B to be equal to 6, and C to be equal to 4. Let's see if this works. Yep, there we go. So that is something pretty wild that Lua can do that makes it very, very special. Now I want to talk about tables and functions. Now, we learned before tables are very, very flexible. You can have numbers for the values. You can have strings for the values. You can have booleans for the values. You can also have functions for the values. So let's have a function called, I don't know. Let's just go say hello. And actually we don't want the parentheses. And before we assign that, because right now, like, say hello is just nil, so that won't do anything, I need to actually declare my function. Say hello. Print hello. Okay. Just add a line of code and set a breakpoint. I just want to show you what it looks like in the debugger. It'll be up here because I didn't, it's a global. Let me declare T as a local function. It's just easier to find in the call stack. Okay. There it is. Okay, so alive equals true. F, it's a function. Doesn't know, you don't have any information other than that, but it is a function. Health is 100, and the name is Steve. Okay. Well, we can call that function really easily just by saying t.f like that, and that should print hello. There it is. Okay, now here's something very special you can do with tables. Wouldn't it be nice if we could have a function that could see the table itself and do something with that table data? There's one way we can do it, and we'll call this display health. And it accepts one argument that's going to be the table. And then we're just going to say print t.health. And that should print out the health value. Oh yeah, I need to, since I changed the name of the function, I need to change it down here. Okay. So that printed out 100. Okay, so that worked. There's another way we could do this that's a little bit better. We could say, let's declare the function like this. After the table. Now if we declare it like this, The critical difference here is we're using a colon to declare it. When we do that, then we can access the table itself with the self keyword. So we can say self.health. And when we call it, we need to use a colon. And we no longer have to pass the table to itself as an argument. So we got rid of that argument there. Let's see what this does. Okay, what did I do? Oh, okay. I should be calling it, okay, so I made a mistake. I should be just doing that. Okay, I don't need to assign it. I can just, okay, so now it printed 100. Okay. So this is the exact same thing as if we had gone like this, and let's make self an argument. And then we're going to pass the table to itself. So if we declare it with using a period instead of a colon, then it doesn't really have that self keyword. We're just providing it here as an argument. And that does the exact same thing. It's just declaring it with a colon and calling it with a colon like that, and then making it so we don't have to pass the table to itself. That's just a little bit easier. It's a little bit nicer to work with. And it does the exact same thing. So actually, whenever I have a function on a table like this, I always declare the function like this, and I always call the function like this, because otherwise it's just too hard to remember, which way to do it. As a rule, I just always use a colon to declare the function on a table. And when I'm calling the function on a table, I always use a colon. There's really no downside to that, so I just always do that as a rule. So that's everything there is to know about functions in Lua. If any of that was confusing to you, then stop by our forum or our Discord server, and we'll be happy to answer your questions there.